Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mimi Plochet, and I'm Artistic Director of the Chicago International Film Festival. And it's my great pleasure to be here today with director Leonardo Brizicchi from Argentina with his film Wandering Heart. Welcome, Leonardo.
Thank you so much, Mimi. It's been a pleasure, and I'm very excited.
Great. Well, we're so
Uh,
excited to be presenting your film in the festival this year, both online and in theater. Just to have the festival going and running again, and to be able to present works like yours, which we think need to be seen. So, thank you for joining us.
no, thank you for the invitation, and yeah, we need to come back to the cinema. No,
Yeah.
it's been too long.
So I just wanted to start off with, for you, like the starting point of this film, like the way that I think I interpret the film is really as like a coming of age story. And I know you can come of age at many moments in your life, of course, as like there's a massive kind of sea change in kind of in your world or in your place in the world. So, but what I think is so interesting is the way that the character of Santiago, his kind of coming of age is paralleling that of his daughter, who he's soon to be an empty nester. So I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the starting point of the story for you, and also, you know, kind of how you see this story as the writer of it.
No, I think it's very interesting what you're saying. I think like uh, any crisis actually in life, it's a little bit like a coming of age moment in life. And somehow I think the character of Santiago reach a point in his life when there are certain deep wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the film is a lot about wounds that they haven't been healed,
Mm-hmm.
and that the character has this impossibility even to name them. So it was a film about trying to portray with the difficulties and the challenges the inner life of a character. You know, like when we have things, and the daughter, maybe she has a little bit more tools, no? Because I have the feeling like I was, maybe these are thoughts that they came after, but how we carry on wounds through from generation to generation, you know, in a family, you know, that they, if you think about like generations here in Argentina, like you have people that they were immigrants, you know, my grandparents were immigrants, and then, you know, kids are like, you know, equal marriage, and in the middle it was all a taboo. I mean, the changes, they happen so fast as well. So and actually like the way of how masculinity is constructed, you know, like how they teach you not to express your feelings, like when you're a kid, and even like more when you have other secrets when you're a gay kid, you know, that you need to keep it, hold it on. And then the changes, they happen so fast, and all of a sudden, you know, Santiago is 50, and the world change.
Yeah.
But you know, inside he still has to do a lot of work, you
Right.
know. So I think you're totally right. It is in a way coming of age film, but it's a film in its essence trying to portray that inner life and about the desire and pain of living and loving. You know, it's the story about that impossibility. Like the character wants to love, but he's not able to love. That's his struggle, you know, during his life. And okay, why is he not able? You know, and
Right.
those are the questions that the film maybe poses. So yeah, it's a never end. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot about, you know, this pre-pandemic, but in a way it's a lot about, you know, like dealing with certain mental health issues, no, like you know, anxiety, and how this masculinity that is so strong, and now we are living this deconstruction with like all this amazing feminine movement that I love and everything. But okay, what's how men catch up as well, like how, you know, when they were not really taught that those things are weak, you know. And anyway, I went all around with my answer.
Yeah. Well, it also strikes me too. It's like his search to love, but also to be loved, which like the impossibility of loving also prevents kind of that reception of love too. But you know, like you were saying, like there's kind of this moment where it all explodes for him, which we are seeing in the film, or he's facing a crisis. And I think, you know, it requires the character requires this incredible kind of modulation of emotion from kind of one extreme to the other, because he's not just an extreme, he's a fully formed character. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about working with the actor Leonardo, also that plays Santiago, in terms of eliciting kind of the modulation in his performance on that very emotional level.
Well, that was the most important thing, no? Like this film was never going to work without an actor like Leonardo Braglia, because the script is a film where the emotions, they mark the actions of the film. The narrative is marked by the emotions and the changes of emotions that he's going through. So if the actor was not as amazing as Sbaraglia, the film would have never worked. So, but working, like the process, well, we were rehearsing with him a lot about how he's always, even though he's staying still, he's always in movement, you know, inside. And that was a work that we did in rehearsals a lot. But he got the energy, you know, very fast. Like he's amazing. He was so committed, and he could connect. He's very different to the character. He did a lot of transformation for the character, but he could connect with those open wounds. And that, I think the key was, for him and for our work together, was to work on someone who is constantly uncomfortable, you know, constantly. So that was the sensation. And then when you talk about these changes of mood and stuff like that, well, of course there are some conditions, you know, like the character maybe suffers from certain conditions that he's not aware, no, like maybe like a cyclotimic, you know, thing that is going through. But so it was very physical, the preparation for him, but about the way of talking, moving, like finding the right energy of the character. And for me it was an honor, because he's a very professional actor. He's like very famous, and he's been working 35 years, and I'm just starting as a director. And he's so passionate about what he does, and he was never doubting any of my decisions, you know, like zero-star diva behavior. And but it's really to highlight, because you don't find so many people like that. And also he's so much in love with the profession, which acting, like that, when he's like a 15-year-old kid, you know, like acting, like he has that passion. So yeah, I don't know if did I answer your question?
Yeah, you did. You're right, though.
Okay.
I mean, I'm really curious to hear you talk a little bit more about, because you do have that sense of, like, even when he's still, that there's kind of this energy or this motion around him. And so I imagine that also, like, of course, it has to work with all the characters and the actors that are surrounding him as well. Yeah, can you talk about casting the rest of it, kind of, because in some ways they have to balance out with kind of this big energy that he's putting out there.
Yeah, and also, well, of course, the main one is the daughter, no, Miranda, which are like a reflection, no, they form like two together, the dynamite. Yeah. So finding the character of Miranda, but she came to the casting, she did like the first scene, and it was very clear, okay, this is her. And then, it was very, it's a very, it was a film shot in 4 weeks, no? Like, even though it has a lot of scenes, so we did it really fast. Like, the money got evaluated and everything, but casting was the thing. One of the processes that I put so much energy into it, like, because they were not easy parts, like the dialogues. They're like, people say things in this film, right? Like, it's, and I know it, like, has even for moments some melodramatic touches and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's kind of like you are guided by a certain, sometimes it is something like you go very intuitive, like, so a lot of actors that they were coming, they were amazing, but it's like, no, it's not him. No, it's not for all the other characters. No, Leonardo Baraglia was like nothing, like the best, and always on my head. No, it was the dream, and then he read the script and he loved it, and he was like, it was a surprise because it was as well like a very, small film, no, in a way for in production terms. So it was really long, the casting, and it was done, guided by intuition, I would say. Like, it was like that. And I remember the character who was more difficult to find was the character of Federico, the friend of him, the one they finished the film together. That was the most difficult. And I remember after, like, we did the casting over Skype, and he just read the scene, and it was him, and it was like I closed the computer and I started jumping on the office of Ruda Cine, of the production company, because it was, and we saw a lot of amazing actors. So I think it's one of the most important.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Great. Yeah. I'm really curious about, I mean, it's amazing that you shot in just 4 weeks because of the 2 locations as well, right? And so, I was curious, I wanted to talk about kind of the movement of the film from the 2 locations, and both kind of what that shift represented within the narrative arc of the film. What did it mean for them to go to Brazil? I mean, of course, it's the mother is there, but kind of what else it meant in terms of the journey of the inner life of the characters, specifically Leonardo, but also with Laila. And then also what that was like for you, like such a short shooting period, and to have to go to 2 completely different locations, and what the challenges with that were.
I mean, shooting, I love. Like, it's a part of the process that I don't know. I get like I get a lot of adrenaline, and it's a state of mind that I really like. Of course, we had to cross a lot of scenes out of the script because we didn't have time. No, there were more scenes. But then, all in all, you go with what you have, and we knew that. No, a couple of months before shooting the film, and then I had the feeling that it marked a certain rhythm. We couldn't do so many shots of each thing, and maybe some type of urgency. It wasn't that bad, either. In reflection, in Brazil, there were more scenes left out because they were in Argentina and 1 week in Brazil. And in terms, well, that's a very, interesting question, and maybe like not so the one you make in terms of the narrative of the film. Of course, is the search of the mother. No, like we need to know that the third part, no, there. And I have the feeling in terms of the arc of the character, I have the feeling that Santiago goes to, I think, to Brazil. Of course, he doesn't want to stay alone, like in that flat, like he can't face at that moment to be alone. But apart from that, I have a feeling that he wants unconsciously, or he doesn't say it, but to see if they can make a family again. I have the feeling that when he goes, there is a certain desire to see if maybe this can be good. That's why he calls the mom, and he feels the first day is doing us good to be here. Like things are getting better with Laila. Like a little lost. Like he is, but I have the feeling that's why he goes to Brazil, and then of course that illusion gets shattered.
Yeah.
Very fast, like
and I was also wondering kind of like what, I guess for an Argentine, what like Brazil represents kind of in the cultural imagination, because I have a feeling it's also a little bit different, than our perception of it. So I guess that was maybe the other part of the question is like, what does going to the beach or a big, like Rio in Brazil mean in the kind of the cultural imagination if you're Argentine?
Okay, I have a special connection because I had a lot of summer holidays in Brazil, like in my when I was a child, and but yeah, Brazil, you're right. Like it has a certain, it's very different from Argentina, and there are certain stereotypes. So you imagine more like the paradise, more happiness. Like no, they have samba, we have tango. More melancholic, and somehow for the character, I think it's quite ironic or paradoxical, like like go into that paradise, and actually like the characters are still broken inside. So actually the Brazil that portrays the film is not the stereotype of Brazil, right? And then like Brazil in the last years, that image as well changed a lot because of the political situation that they're going through. That is really bad, like with Bolsonaro. And there is a little scene on the film where there are harass Santiago, no, like they bully him, like making comments, because actually it was more, there was an, it wasn't to make like a political comment. It's a thing more like that. It has to do with the character inside. But the truth is that Brazil changed, and there was a certain part of the crew in Brazil is not the same. It's not the same Brazil as if they went backwards. Like, unfortunately. So right now Brazil represents something so different. In such short period of years, the meaning of Brazil for Argentinians as well changed, for them as well. But yeah, I think yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you get that sensation that that's like the promise, like you said, of a paradise or something better awaits you. And then, maybe that's the interesting paradox that's playing out right now, like you said, where you go and it doesn't, what you thought you were going to find, you're actually not going to find there at all.
I mean, it's like these little things that are like sometimes very cliche, but they are real, right? Like when you can't find like your inner peace, it doesn't matter where you go. Like you can be in paradise, and then paradise, that ocean maybe can become like a monster. Like instead of like peace.
Right.
So there was something.
Yeah, so rather than the external, it has to be with the internal forces. I kind of wanted to go back because I think you are conveying a really unconventional relationship in the film that we hardly ever see at film. I mean, in a film, first I think it's kind of, we don't often see that father-daughter relationship centered in a film. And then there's a twist on it because, he's a gay character and it has the relationship with the father. And I mean, I love that about the film, is that it kind of takes you by surprise in centering this relationship. And so I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about making that choice and then developing that relationship, to have it particularly be a daughter that's represented, a father-daughter relationship rather than like a father-son.
Film was always, like one of the most important elements was I don't know if in English you call it filial love. Filial, you call it like that, like love between parents and kids, and it was always like the three generations. Like it was very important for me. It wasn't only like, actually, the center was always the father and the daughter. Why it's a father and daughter, and why it's not a father and son? It's always a daughter, in my head. And then because it was, there are a lot of questions and that I was having about family family constellations, on history, stories pass on. So going to be like about a guy looking for love. Actually, I think the film, at the end portrays the most important type of love, which is the one that the father can feel for a daughter. And yeah, I don't know if I answer your question really. Like if you maybe can repeat again like one part of the question, because I think in the middle I got a little bit lost.
No, I think I mean, and maybe you've answered it. I guess I just was maybe even more commenting just kind of the uniqueness of kind of representing that father-daughter relationship on screen. So yeah, and if
I guess, yeah.
Oh, go on.
No, I guess that no, okay. I guess it's a subject that it's very personal to me.
Yeah.
Like those relationships, about how after they form you, and also as well how you can it's like perfect the relationship they have, but they still love each other.
Right.
So how do you get that moment, of conciliation between these two characters? Can it happen? Can it not happen? Which wounds are you gonna leave in Laila? That Laila will have to cover. So it's like, I don't know. I think family dynamics. It's a subject that always interested me. In even like a lot of films that I love, like they are about families. How this little society, like maybe you are not making a film that is big and political, like you're talking about a small group of people, but it's like, I think I'm interested in the small, in the small groups, I am that as a but that reflects, of course, as well, like the chaotic life that is, anxiety levels of the city of Latin America, the contrast, the ups and downs, the crisis, like all that is as well inside of the characters, that they're all like a little bit in a crisis, somehow.
Yeah, like the personal,
even the small.
Yeah, the personal, it reflects kind of the larger social and political around them, like that moment.
Something like that, and that's something that I feel comfortable talking, and I am interested because it's a way of approaching, making films, making art, like of approaching to getting to know yourself better as well, with the hope that maybe, when you make something, that with the hope that it connects with the viewer, and maybe has an effect that they feel like, this guy is going through something that I feel, and they can feel identified, or can touch something inside of them, that they can feel them, that they feel less alone, like in the like I fall in love with cinema because of that. Like it was a moment of my youth when I was very depressed, and I was 13 or something, and I remember watching movies like Stand By Me or The Dead Poet Society, like when I was a teenager, and I don't know, and I feel like cinema has that power, of sometimes like putting there, and even if you are alone in that moment, you feel, okay, somewhere there is someone who is going through something similar to what I'm going through. So that's what drove the film as well, like to say, let's go for this guy, let's go for these people that they're all, they're not great, they're not doing great, but they love each other, this mother and this daughter. So, but they are a little bit fucked up.
Well, and it's also, to me, I mean, the film is really about it. Also, I mean, besides love, it also connects with this kind of what is this fear of loneliness, right? Or of being alone. And maybe that's like not being loved as. So, I mean, I think it's interesting to hear you talk about like cinema as the tool, as the art that makes you feel less alone, as kind of you're doing this interrogation of someone who's afraid of loneliness at the same time. But speaking of connecting with audiences, you had let me know that your film just came out in Argentina. Could you talk a little bit about the connection that you've had with audiences there?
Yeah, it's very like we're very moved by the connection because some people, like quite a lot of people, now of course it premiered in HBO Max in Latin America and in some cinemas, but it's more so it's getting to a wider audience because of that. And also social media, you get a lot of like messages on Instagram and the main actor as well, and people working in the film, and actually like we are feeling very emotional and very touched because people are really feeling it, like they are connecting. So and even like and it's about, I have the feeling that it's not speaking only to the gay community, like we have messages from straight men in their 50s or middle age or younger or women, like I have the feeling that is talking to a lot of people because it's a film about love, and about the desire of difficulties and the fear of being alone. It's more like it's more a human story.
Yeah.
Even though the first scenes they might seem a little bit more directed in a certain way. So we are very, very, very happy.
Yeah.
About the resonance that is having in the audience.
That's great. Well,
and I hope it goes well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to our audiences connecting it, whether they already have online or they're going to watch it in the theaters. So, yeah, I mean, I do think it's a story that you're right. It's not, there's the central character is gay, but it's ultimately a human story about relationships and whether, it crosses boundaries. And so, well, congratulations on the film and on the positive reception. And we're looking forward to sharing it with our audiences here.
Yeah, I wish I was there to be there in the cinema, but well, I wish you have very nice projections of the film.
Thank you, and thank you so much for joining us. And we'll be in touch.
Okay. No, please, it's my pleasure and an honor to be in your festival.
Great. Really. Thank you, Leonardo.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.